So today is the most important day because we're going to talk about creating a blueprint to your success. Okay. And this is, like I mentioned yesterday, this is a piece that I feel like a lot of people are missing when they're setting up their agency, their automations, their businesses. They just don't take the time to do the blueprint. And so once they start scaling, things start falling by the wayside and getting lost. So this is super, super important. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're talking about the blueprint today. And I just want to kind of talk about the power of a blueprint and why it's so important. So in 2020, I started a brand new business in July. And by November, we had already made over $300,000. Okay. Now, I don't say that to flex on you, but how did I do that? Well, I had a blueprint, guys. I had a blueprint and I had automations. Okay. And by November, we had already made over 100K in a month. And it was crazy. Every morning when I woke up, I had all these Stripe notifications on my phone and it was amazing. And I'm going to teach you how I did this. But first, we have to talk about the blueprint. Okay. I know you guys have seen all the gurus online with their Lambos and like burning the money and stuff. And, you know, they teach how they made money because they sold a course on how to make money, on how they made money, right? So they don't actually teach you the framework behind that business. So that's what I'm going to teach you today. So you guys are excited. Okay, so back in the day when like I told you yesterday, when I started my agency, I had so many tools to choose from. And yes, this is the high level graphic on their website, but it just shows you all the tools that high level replaces, right? And before I heard about high level, I was super overwhelmed with my client onboarding. And I told you a little bit about that yesterday, because what would happen was I would find myself working the weekend and I would close a client, send them an invoice, hope and pray that they pay, right? And then as soon as they pay, send them a bunch of different emails asking a million questions, trying to figure out all their information, right? Then 2 weeks later, they get second thoughts like, oh, you know, I don't know if I should have done this. And then 3 weeks later, they haven't been launched yet and they ask for a refund. Have you guys ever had that happen? Let me know in the chat if you guys have had this happen. It's not any fun, okay? But wouldn't it be awesome if as soon as you close the new deal, your clients experienced a seamless onboarding process that you can focus on the next sale, right? That would be amazing. Well, the cold hard truth is it only takes 48 hours until buyer's remorse sets in. So if you don't have your clients onboarded in 48 hours, they're already having second thoughts about working with you. I hate to tell you that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, okay? But this is scientifically proven. So here's how it should work, okay? Their first interaction with you as a client is a wow-like experience, right? So from when they come in as a lead to when they set up a demo with you, and then everything after they close should be completely automated so that you can focus right here on demo, close, demo, close, demo, close, and make lots of money, and everything else is automated, okay? Now, let's be real. Selling and prospecting are what grows businesses and not fulfillment. So we're going to talk about getting you guys off the hamster wheel of death, AKA client fulfillment, okay? So I hope you guys are ready.
Yes,
ready?
and by the way, I'm loving these hilarious emojis and GIFs that you put together so far.
Thank you.
And guys, just so you know, this is just as casual, okay? So make sure your questions are ready. You want to
Yes.
interact with us, make sure camera's on, take a ton of notes. I don't ever bring anybody in that I don't know about their business and the depth of what they have built. I'm very careful of who I bring on a virtual workshop, okay? So take a ton of notes. I'm excited for this, and let's get going.
Okay. All right. So I told you guys about my first client onboarding experience yesterday. If you were here yesterday, you remember hearing how I was hiding in the closet over Christmas and trying to onboard my first client. And it took me several hours before I was done. And then I heard about high level, which completely changed my whole life because I automated my onboarding. And thank God I heard about it in time, because I literally signed 3 clients the next week and I felt like my head was going to explode. Okay. So I'm going to teach you guys that right now. So first, oh, my animations are broken. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to set up your 5-minute fulfillment. Okay. Then we are going to talk about setting up your blueprint, your success flow. And then we're going to talk about setting your onboarding on autopilot. And then tomorrow we're going to do the automations, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Okay. So step 1, you want to set up your fulfillment to 5 minutes or less. I promise it's possible. Okay. I promise it's possible. So first, I want you guys to tell me what your time is worth. Okay. So I created a little calculator for you all that you can fill out with your hourly rate. So if you don't have an hourly service, the national average for consulting is $150 an hour. And you can put in how much time you spend per week on client onboarding in hours, the number of clients you onboard per week, and the time you spend per week creating their new campaigns in hours. Okay. So according to this, if you spend 6 hours every week onboarding one client, you're spending $3,600 per month of your time, or $43,000 per year of your time. But guys, that's not even the biggest part of this. Okay. The biggest part of this is the opportunity cost that you're losing out on because you're not spending that time on sales calls. Okay. So if you're doing this instead of being on sales calls, you're spending 24 hours not growing your business per month and 288 hours per year, which is going to cost you over $172,000 if you only close 20% of your deals. Okay. That's huge. That is huge. So I created this little calculator for you guys, and it's just a Google sheet. So if you open it, it should say like copy sheet or whatever. It's literally just what I talked about. So if you guys want to do that, that's cool. And then once you have it filled out, let me know in the comments how much your opportunity cost is. Okay.
Christine, do you think you can grab that link and throw it into the Zoom chat
Oh yeah.
so that people can actually click it?
Hold on. It.ly.
And to your point, a lot of the agencies make the mistake of focusing on their fulfillment process way too early, when even if you're under like 50K a month, you still have to very much so heavily focus on sales rather than fulfillment. Your fulfillment will take care of itself as you build out a team and build out processes and collect feedback from the proper clients. And eventually, I mean, you'll be able to automate a good amount of it as well.
Right.
Great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys do that. I'm going to talk about what you should automate first. So I get asked this question all the time. What should I automate? You should only automate repeatable processes and proven services. Okay, so I have people who come in and they just want to automate everything. Please don't do that. Okay, I'm telling you, the only thing you need to worry about is like your number one product or service right now. Okay, because you probably sell 90% of the same package, and make sure that you're not trying to do too much, because then you'll get overwhelmed and quit, and we don't want that. Okay, so just do one. Okay, the most popular. And then when I say proven services and repeatable, so the other thing I see them doing is they'll have like a $3,000 package, but on the sales call, they change the price based on where they're reading the lead at. So they could say, oh, that's 1,500, or that's 750, or that's 997. Please don't do that, because you can't automate if you're changing the price randomly when you're on the phone with people. Okay. And you'll be able to scale a lot faster if you're selling the same thing over and over, if it's the same price. I promise. Okay. So make sure you have this in place before you start automating anything. And then when should you automate? You should automate when your blueprint is done, which we're going to talk about today. And when you have your products and services mapped out, and I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but what I mean by that is you need to have your price structure in place first. Okay. And be consistent.
So for all of you that are doing a ton of custom work and custom pricing, you're not going to scale as fast as you think you could or potentially should be able to, right? So I highly recommend a homogeneous pricing structure where it's the same thing across the board, and don't have more than 2-3 offers max, in my opinion. And that's just my personal opinion. If you can get away with the business with just one offer, you're going to scale fast.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've heard Paulson talk about this too. So I know we are aligned, and this guy knows what he's talking about. So amazing advice. Okay. I don't know what happened to my animations. Okay, here we go. So we have the 5-minute fulfillment. We talked about, we're going to talk about the success flow right now. So in the success flow, by that, what I mean is your blueprint, okay? And in this example, like I said yesterday, I've helped hundreds of agencies with this, but one of the most amazing transformations was Jeff and Josh, and they were at 30K a month in revenue. But once I started working with them and helped them with their onboarding and their automations, their fulfillment time was cut down by 60% and scaled to 6 figures a month in 6 months. So this is very, very, very powerful. So what I'm saying, it's super important, okay? Don't skip this part. So to create your blueprint, here are some tools that you can use. And I'm gonna give you guys some homework today to create your blueprint. And it's probably gonna be one of these tools that you end up using, okay? So some of the tools you can use for your blueprint are Google Drawings, which is free. And that's what I started out using. You can use Funnelytics, and you can use Giru, which I think is paid. And then Whimsical, which is free, which is what I use for my diagrams. It's amazing, and it's super easy to use, and it looks great. So make sure that you take a note of these because you're going to need this later. Okay, so I showed you guys the diagram on how it should work a second ago, and I'm going to go deeper into each piece of that how it should work diagram. Okay, so the first section of that diagram was the sales pipeline. So here we have all the entry points. This is where your leads come in. Okay, where are your leads coming in? Are they coming in from Facebook ads, Google ads, LinkedIn, organic? Where are they coming in? We need to identify all these entry points because we don't want to leave anything out. Okay. Then they're gonna.
Can we actually get a room temperature? Like, I would love to know where your leads are coming from as an agency today. Everybody, like, I want you to comment down in the streaming. Do you have active ads running or organic marketing running? We would like to get a good idea of where your entry points are. Is it cold email? Is it cold calling, appointment setters? What are your entry points that you normally use today? I know Facebook ads are really popular. A ton of agencies are now using TikTok ads as well. I know the Instagram DMs are now pulled into the conversations. I've seen that before. So that's another aspect. I know guys like Isaac Rubel, they run a lot of voicemail, ringless voicemail, and they run that in. What are some of the top channels, entry points you have today where leads are coming in? We want to see the comments in the Facebook.
We can barely hear you, Paulson.
You can barely hear me?
Yeah, I've got my volume all the way up. So Christine's really loud, which is not an offense. And then Paulson's really quiet. So
how about now? Is it because I was far away from the microphone?
Yep, a lot better.
Okay, cool. Thanks for addressing that. So that way we have good recording. But yeah, my point is, guys, I want to see where your traffic points are. Okay, a ton of people are saying email. Brian at Dunlap says organic and paid ads. Okay, cool. Sean says BNI. Okay, there's a lot of variety of sources, Christine.
Nice.
So what happens after that?
Okay, so then they're going to come in from wherever they're coming in from, right? And then they're going to opt in. Ideally, they're going to opt in so that you can get them into your funnel. Okay. Then you want them to schedule on your calendar. right? So what happens when they schedule on your calendar? Are they getting any kind of reminders? And what kind of reminders are they getting? How often are they getting them? Then the follow-up, right? So that kind of comes in with like the long-term nurture. How are you nurturing these people to get them to want to schedule a demo with you? Okay, so that's everything that you need to think about in the sales pipeline. And then next we have the onboarding piece. So the onboarding piece is what happens after they pay you, right? What happens when they become your client? Are you working the weekend? Are you working nights? Are you trying to like shoot off an email right away so that they're like, oh, wow, this person's on top of their game at 3:30 a.m., right? So we can automate this. So basically in this example, they're paying, then they get the onboarding form, they're going to fill it out. Then they're going to get the instructions, what happens next, setting expectations, super important. Then they're going to, your automations are going to set up everything for your team. So your team's going to know, hey, we got a new client. This is their name, their business. This is what they do. And then we're going to automate the build process. Okay. And then what happens last? Client retention, ideally, right? So we're going to put a system in place for client retention, for referrals, for upsells, for cross sells, for review building, Do you guys have, I'm curious, do you guys have a client retention system in place right now? Let me know.
My gut tells me most people don't.
Most people don't, you're right.
That's okay. And that's okay. But it's something that's going to move the needle in your business very critically.
Yes. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of no's. I just pulled up the chat. No. Okay, yeah. So we're going to talk about that today too, and tomorrow. I'm going to teach you how to automate it tomorrow. Okay, so here's again how it works together, just for a refresher here. So we've got the leads coming in, they're going through the opt-in process, they're doing the demo, they're paying, they're doing the onboarding form, everything's getting built for them. And then your team is also getting all the notifications. Okay.
So Christine, I have a question for you. Is this an example of one of your blueprints?
Yes.
Got it. So when you say we have to map this out on Funalytics or whatever else tool, what she's saying is figure out the flow of how a customer interacts with your business and then how you interact with the customer and then deliver the expectations that were set forth, right? So this is an interesting thing, and to me, obviously it saves a ton of time, but I actually think ultimately it elevates the customer experience altogether because you're not now really dependent on human hours, right, and human labor.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about errors if everything is set up properly as well. But
absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yes, absolutely. So this is a simplified version of what I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, so you can either do your blueprint this way, which we're going to talk about, or you can do it more of a decision tree style, which I'll show you in a little bit. Okay. So we talked about 5-minute fulfillment, and we talked about your success flow, so your blueprint, and now we're going to talk about onboarding on Autopilot. Okay, so I want you guys to have like a system that's automatically going to go and create everything for you when you sign a client. Okay. So what's the secret? Well, I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but the secret is the onboarding form. Okay. Because the onboarding form is going to kick off all the automations that's going to make your life amazing. Okay. So here's an example of what we can do. And this is something we're going to do tomorrow. I'm just kind of teasing you a little bit. And I definitely want you guys to show up tomorrow. So what can we do with the automations? We can do all kinds of stuff. Okay. We can create Google folders, Google Drive directories, copy files, create spreadsheets, send Slack messages, create Slack channels, create ClickUp automations. We can do all this stuff from the onboarding form. Okay. So when you leverage automation for client onboarding, you don't have to waste time manually figuring it out. You can hop on the next sales call and grow your business. Okay, so now we have all the steps. So now what I'm going to talk you through is the actual blueprint and get nitty gritty into the blueprint. So I hope you guys are ready to take some notes.
Yes, yes, yes. And I've
Okay.
seen this.
Yes, so I promised you guys I was going to show you a more complicated decision tree blueprint. This is what I actually use in my agency, in my business. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down piece by piece, and you're going to completely understand it by the end of this, okay?
So Christine, you know this about me. This stuff is scary for me. I'm not a techie at all. I'm more of a sales guy. So I'm gonna ask a ton of elementary questions, just so you know, for all my salespeople at heart. Okay.
Yep. Okay, cool. That's all good. All right. So first, I'm going to break down the legend so you kind of understand what's going on here. And then I'm going to go into each piece so that you know how to set it up for yourself. Okay. So first, the blue right here, the blue polygons here are campaigns or workflows inside of high level. Okay. So every time you see a little blue shape here, these are all the workflows. Okay. Then the little yellow like bang shapes, those are pipeline stages, which I'm going to talk about. Pipelines, I'm going to ask you if you've set up your pipelines, if you're using the opportunity cards like you should be. And I'm going to go through these as well. And then the actions. So the green, I can't talk. The orange diamonds are the actual actions that the lead is taking or the client is taking. Okay. And so the first thing that you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to write down the details of your business for your blueprint. Okay. So what industry and niche are you in? What is your offer? How much is it? What are the details of it? Okay. How many people are on your sales team? Do you have a sales team? Is it just you? This is all important. What kind of lead assignment? Are you doing a round robin? Okay. Are you doing first come, first serve? Are you doing high, low priority? You need to determine that, because that's how you're going to set up your calendar. Okay. And then your contract tool. What do you want to use for your contracts? You can use high level, you can use PandaDoc, you can use sign request, you can use, I don't know, there's a billion of those. Okay. And then project management tool, you can use ClickUp, you can use Acuity, you can use a ton of different things. So you need to write all this stuff down, because we're going to use this list in your blueprint. Okay. Okay, so the first piece of the blueprint that we're going to talk about is the lead source. So we talked about this a little bit already, but I'm going to break it down in the more complex blueprint I showed you a second ago. So this is this corner up here, the top left corner, we have the lead source. Okay, where are your leads coming from? So in this example, we could have a form. So this could be a form on your funnel or on your website. This could be a Facebook lead form. This could be a bulk action or an existing customer list. This could be LinkedIn. It could be Instagram. It could be anything, right? So you need to determine where all of your entry points are so we don't have a leaky faucet, okay? How many of you guys have gone to someone's website and you put in your information? Well, what happens next? Does it go into a black hole? Have you ever not heard back from anybody when you put in your information on a website? And you're like,
That
oh,
never happens, Christine, in the internet world.
never.
Everybody follows up right away.
Everybody. Well, if they have high level, they do, right? But unfortunately, I know all too well that that's not the case. In fact, when I was remodeling my house, this was so painful. No one even answered the phone. And I thought, man, all these people need high level. So if you guys are looking for niche home services, I'm telling you, all these guys have issues answering their phones, right? So, I called 30 people and 5 answered their phone, and 3 of them set up an estimate. 2 of them showed up and only 1 of them gave me an estimate. So who do you think I hired to remodel my house, right? The one guy that I didn't have to chase to give him money.
The most automated service provider.
Exactly. That's who I hired, and they made a ton of money off of me. So this is really, really important. So you've got all of your entry points here. And then also here, make sure that you put your calendar on here. I'm curious how many of you guys use Calendly or Acuity? Okay, I want to know in the comments how many of you guys still use Calendly or Acuity. Does anybody?
I bet a ton, Christine. You know what I'm thinking about as you kind of share your blueprint, your concept, like the way you layered out the legend side. My brain is thinking about the migration processes people have to kind of build up to come over or let go of something like calendar systems like Acuity or ClickFunnels or Active Campaign and a lot of the components of a business, right? Because if they have a blueprint and they see how it all works together as a big engine, I think the whole migration plans could be a lot more synced up. I was just randomly thinking about that because that's really what it's about, right? It's
Yep.
consolidating it all together.
Yes, absolutely. It's super, super important. So I do see a couple guys are using these, not using high level. So high level lets you do all the same things, okay? But you can have unlimited calendars, unlimited services, unlimited users, and you don't have to pay extra. And what I like to do is embed my calendar on a fancy branded funnel page, and then I can assign it my own custom branded URL instead of sending someone to like calendly.com or whatever. So high level is super powerful with it. And then you can also control your follow-up automations to get them to show up to the calls, which I'm going to talk about today too. Okay. All right. So we have, let me back up for a second. We have our opt-in campaign here. So we're going to talk about that. So what do you send to your new leads? Okay. So that's, again, this little campaign right here, workflow. Okay. All right. So in this particular blueprint, this is for our lead nurture. And we have 5 days of follow-up. Okay. So you have the green text message, the blue voicemail drop, and the pink or red emails, right? And I've had some people ask me, isn't this too much? Is this, I don't want to bug them or whatever, but the average lead needs between 7 to 13 touch points before they're going to buy something from you. And in fact, the number keeps going up because of all the content online. So I've even heard like 7 to 13 hours. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following up with them so they don't forget about you. And I wouldn't think it was bugging them if they opted in, right? So don't worry about that. A lot of people ask me, what do I put in my lead follow-up? Well, you could actually like reverse engineer what your competitors are doing, right? Or what your clients' competitors are doing. That's what I love doing. When I used to do high-level builds and for people in snapshots, I would just reverse engineer what some of the best companies were doing, the ones that automated their follow-up, right? So for example, when I first started my agency, I was in the laser hair removal niche, right? And I didn't know what to put in my follow-up. So I just Googled laser hair removal near me. And I opted in for one of these national chains. Okay. I signed up as a lead, and then I saw what they were texting me. I saw what they were emailing me. And I felt like they were super pushy because of the way that the things that they were saying was pushy, not the number of follow-ups really, but more what they were saying was kind of pushy. And then I actually went and got an estimate, and that was very high pressure sales. So I was like, okay, I see why everyone likes going to my client, because she's like super natural about it. She's laid back, she's human, right? So that's something that you need to keep in mind when you're setting up your lead nurture, is be a human. I like to add little typos, little text shortcuts, little emojis, and it makes it less of a robot. Have you guys ever tried using automations and the person's like, is this a robot? Is this a computer?
As soon as I see like it's grammatically perfect and it's like a paragraph, I know it's not a human because I like
Yes.
somebody would never text their friend like that, you know?
Yes.
And like I've seen companies also add the text terminology that's a sent from iPhone at the bottom of a text message or an email, and I'm like, that's kind of genius, right? Like you have
That's
to make
brilliant.
it so like it's okay to have slang, but just make it relevant to the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm texting my friends, I'll send them like a little line and then I'll send another one and then I'll send another one because I'm thinking and then I'm typing and then I'm hitting enter and then I'm like, oh yeah, and then this and then this. So like make it like a person, right?
I've never heard anybody say that. So what you're saying is don't throw all the entire messaging in one
Yeah,
pun.
yeah,
Part it apart. That's interesting.
yeah. And I bet if you guys go and if you're anything like me, I bet if you go and look at your text messages, you'll see little snippets versus a big long paragraph. I only have one friend that texts me like that, and he does like speech to text, and it's like a wall of text. No one wants to read a wall of text. Okay, no one.
Great advice. I
And
love
I don't think he's watching this, but personally, I don't read like his wall of text either. So it happens. It's just like the attention span thing, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
you color coordinate text versus ringless voicemails versus emails. And how does this play into the bigger blueprint?
I'm glad you asked me that, and I'm going to show you that like in a little bit. But basically, what you can do is you can take this and put it in a workflow. Okay. But it's important that we understand what we're doing first. And that way it's like documented. Documentation is everything, right? Like I told you guys yesterday, my background is in IT. And every organization that I came into as a manager, like none of them had documentation. And these are Fortune 500 companies. And I'm going, what happens if we don't like to say get hit by a bus, but we say, what happens if you win the lottery tomorrow? Right? What happens if you win the lottery? No one's going to know what's going on. So documentation is everything. Okay. Don't keep everything in your head. You're going to want to put it on paper. Okay. Oh, and the other thing that's really, really important too on this, make sure your automations are going out during business hours. Okay. So if you have it like immediate, as soon as they opt in, you're sending them a confirmation, but they opt in at 2 a.m. Well, in my experience, the lead is going to pick up the phone and call. And I don't know why. Okay. But they just do. They just do. Their people are up all hours of the night. And if it looks like a human and they get a text that looks like it's from a human and they respond to it, okay, then they might call back at 2 a.m. I had a client who was in Vegas and we had this happen all the time. And most people in Vegas are like on the graveyard shift, right? And he would get upset because he was getting texts or calls at 4 a.m. And for him, that's like when his people would call. And, it's just one of those things. So you have to set it up so that it works for your client, right? Also, make sure that you test. So with these in high level, you can actually see all the open read rates, everything for all your emails. So you're definitely going to want to do some split testing and make sure that you're optimizing your lead nurture. And this happens over time, right? You don't have to get it right the first time, but make sure you're always making improvements. Okay. Okay. So now, sorry, we're going to talk about the appointment reminders. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys like the appointment reminders that I use to reduce no-shows from over 40% to 10% or less. And the appointment reminders are right here. This is their appointment reminder workflow. So this is what I use. So I have an immediate confirmation for the appointment. So in my mind, people are never as excited as the moment they take action. Okay. So you've got to nurture them to keep the excitement going. If you give them that dopamine hit of like, oh, I scheduled the appointment and oh, I got an immediate confirmation, you're giving them like a little cookie, right? Right away. So make sure that you're not waiting until the day of the appointment to send them your first communication, because they're going to be like, who's this Paulson guy? I don't remember this guy. Why does he want me to show up to this call? Okay, so send them an immediate. You can do a text, you can do a voicemail drop, you can do an email. I like to do text and email personally because a lot of people don't check their email anymore. Let's be real. Okay. I know there's people in here who don't check their email. I don't like checking my email. I do it, but I don't like it. Right. But if I get a text on my phone, I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have that meeting. I have that appointment. I have that call. And it's right there in my face. Right. A lot of people have those little Apple Watches or whatever. They get it right away. So here we have the immediate. Okay. Then we have the day before. I'm sending them a text and an email. Then an hour before, another text, another email, and I'm giving them the details of the call, how they join the call, how they can prepare for the call. If it's a Zoom call, you want to give them instructions on how to install Zoom, right? Because that's hard.
I have a question for you, Christine. So
Uh-huh.
between your messaging, do you complement the messaging across each other? Like, hey, I just like I've seen people do a text message that says, hey, just sent you an email. So they're like complementing each other versus it being duplicates of each other. What are your thoughts on that?
I do that all the time. My text will be like, hey, we have a call in an hour. I emailed you the link. Or when someone purchases something, I text them right away and I say, hey, just want to thank you for your order. Please check your email to get access to the material, right?
Or like left you a voicemail, didn't hear back.
Left you. Yeah, I love doing that one too, because they're like, what? Or another like reactivation campaign that I've done that works really well is I'll send them an email, okay, and then I'll text them like a couple hours later and be like, hey, it's Christine, did you get my email? I'm doing like a major sale right now, right? And they're like, what email? And then they're responding, and then they go check their email. So you can, like I said, make it a person, right? Make it personable. And that's something that you would do if you were just texting like your friend, be like, oh, hey, hey, did you get the email I sent you? What email? Right? Oh, this guy's having a major sale. I just wanted you to see it, or whatever you're sharing with your friend, right? But you text them. I do that with my husband all the time. Hey, babe, I emailed you, right? I sent you an email. He's like, what email? But I'm texting him. I sent him an email. So yeah, you can definitely work that in. And I definitely recommend that because it makes it more personal. So I'm sending them an hour before, and then I'm also sending them 15 minutes before. Now I've tested this till I'm blue in the face. Okay. I've tested an hour before, I've tested 30 minutes before, I've tested 15 minutes before, and 15 minutes for me seems to be the sweet spot. An hour, and if I just leave it at an hour and don't do any closer to the appointment, I had more no-shows because a lot can happen in an hour, right? Life happens and people don't do it on purpose, but they just forget. Okay, they get busy or whatever. So mine was 15 minutes. And in this text, I send them the link again in the text, just in case they never got any of my emails. Okay. Okay, so Paulson asked, what do I do with that? Well, I'm going to show you what I do with that, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, but this is a little sneak peek of what you can do with that, okay? So this is a workflow, okay?
So Christian, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
What is a workflow for that? For those people that have never seen high level before that might be watching, what exactly is a workflow?
Okay, so a workflow replaces the old campaign and triggers function, but basically you're going to have a trigger, okay, which fires off the things under the actions underneath, right? So the trigger is up here, the actions are down here, and whenever something up here happens, then all this stuff down here is going to happen, right? So if you guys have used like Active Campaign before, You can do workflows in there. There's a lot of other CRMs that you can do workflows in. So workflows are fairly new to High Level, and they're amazingly powerful because you can basically do whatever you want in them. Okay. So in this example, and I don't want to get too far into this because tomorrow is when we're really going to do this, but whenever someone schedules on my calendar, I'm creating an opportunity in the pipeline, which I'm going to talk about pipelines today. I'm creating some tags. Guys, I use tags for absolutely everything. Okay. And that kind of comes from my IT background. I use a tag depending on where they opt in. Okay. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. I use a tag if they schedule an appointment with me. I use different tags based on what package they buy or what service they buy or what product they buy. I use tags for everything. Okay. Then I'm sending them an email and then a text right away. So this is the immediate. There's no wait step up here. Then the day before, okay, I'm waiting. Then I'm sending them another text, another email. So you see why this is important to document, because you're literally going to create your system based on what you have in the blueprint. Okay. Then an hour before, I'm going to send another email. And then this example is 30 minutes. 30 minutes, I'm going to send a text, right?
Yeah, and I know there might be a few people in here that is maybe on a trial, or they're maybe just watching without even having an account. Workflow is probably one of the most, if not the most powerful thing on High Level, because it allows you to create if-then scenarios based on your business and automate it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it comes down to. They're
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
if-then scenarios of this and that based on your business operations or a department operation or individual operation. Now, the cool thing is once you build it out, you can copy and duplicate this across different areas. And then you can also trigger each workflow against another workflow as well. So it's really powerful in the way you can automate a ton of things and map this out. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also something I'm going to talk about tomorrow, is how you can like link them together and do more complex things. Okay. Okay, so first I want to know, before we start talking about pipelines, how many of you guys are using the opportunity tab? Okay, are you guys using opportunity cards? Are you using the opportunity tab? Because I think a lot of people don't use them because they are kind of intimidated by it, or they're like, what's this thing? I don't know what this thing is. So we're going to talk about what this thing is.
I see a ton of comments. Some people are saying actually no. I'm surprised. And a good, but mostly good amount of people are saying yes on the
Cool.
stream, just so you know.
Oh,
But
good.
I'm surprised by even the 2-3 no's that I see. I'm so surprised by that.
Yay. Okay, cool. All right, so if you're using them, that's cool. Maybe I'll teach you something new that you can like optimize, you know, how you have everything set up. Okay, so the pipeline stages again are these little yellow things,
They're like
right?
little explosions.
Yeah, little yellow bangs or whatever. Okay, so what's happening here, for example, is like once someone signs up with you, right, then they're getting moved to contract submitted into the customer pipeline, right? So I have different pipelines. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the pipeline and just kind of explain it for those of you who aren't using opportunities or pipelines. This is super important for you because it's going to help you visualize where the prospects are in the buying journey, right? It can help you with sales forecasting. It can help you with improving lead generation. It can help you with your nurturing process because you can see where people are falling off, right? And it can help you with achieving your goals and getting to the next level. So before you can create your funnel, you need to understand your sales process and think about it in a way that can be broken down into stages. And High Level lets you do pipeline stages very, very easily. Okay. In this example, we have awareness. So this would be like where the lead comes in. Then we have this is where they find out about you. Then we have fostering interest, like where the lead comes in or they fill out like a qualification form. And then we have when you are on the demo with them, you're pitching your offer. Then we have like a proposal sending or a quote sending process. And then we have when they close, right? So that's this example. But I know a lot of you guys want to be SaaSpreneurs. So I went ahead and included a sample SaaS funnel in here, right? So in this example, we have the awareness of the SaaS product. We have the lead qualification. They want to learn about it. Then we have a product demo. Okay, so you might be doing product demos or delivering your sales pitch. You can either send them a proposal or they can just sign up online, right? They make the decision, and then we have the whole renewal process or the upsell process. So do you have like an ascension offer? Do you have a way that they can give you more money? Because it's cheaper to retain a client and get them to pay you more than it is to go out and find new clients from scratch, right? So you want to make sure that you're setting up your pipeline in the blueprint as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about now is how to set up your new lead blueprint the right way. And this is really important because the high level pipeline is set up on the dashboard so that your leads are actually going in the order that they're supposed to according to the funnel. So if you have your pipeline all jumbled up and you're not actually setting them up in the proper order to the sale, to close the sale, then your numbers are going to be wrong. And I hear this all the time from people who may have like new lead, didn't close, not interested. Like, don't set up your pipeline like that because your numbers are going to be jacked up. I promise. Okay. So in this example, we have the new lead comes in. Okay. Then we have a hot lead. So a hot lead could have responded positively to a text. So let's say that they opt in and we send them an automated text that says, hey, thanks for signing up for our offer. Would you like to get scheduled? And they say yes. Then we move them over into hot lead. Then our team can either take it away, or if you've got the agency pro plan, you can set up a Liza bot to automatically book an appointment with them, right? Then they book the appointment, they're moved over into demo booked. And then they say, yes, I want to sign up. You can actually set it up so that you can drag and drop their card over to contract submitted, and it will automatically send them the contract or proposal on the phone so that there's no objections. They're on the phone with you. They say yes. You go, great. You drag the card over and their contract is in their email inbox on the phone. They can sign up with you right then and there when they say yes. And we're going to do that tomorrow. Okay. Then when they're won or sold, you can move them into here and it'll automatically put them over into the client pipeline. Okay. So this is just an example, and you guys have got to set up something that works for you, but this would be a good way to set it up in the proper order. Okay. Okay, so now that we've talked about the new leads, now we're going to talk about the onboarding process. So when you have a new client, what is their order of ascension with you, right? So in this example, we have payment collected. So this is when they pay you. They could pay you on the phone. They might pay you later. But whenever they pay you, ideally their card will pop over here. Okay, and that's again something you can automate. Then we have onboarding in progress. So this happens when they fill out the onboarding form. So when they pay you, they're going to get an onboarding form. They're going to fill it out, and then they're going to move over here automatically. Okay. Then when their campaign starts, or whenever you've launched, whatever you're launching for them, you can have your team move them over here, which will send them an automatic email saying, hey, we started your campaign, start looking for leads or whatever it is that you sell, right? Then you can also have like a monthly check-in or an upsell pipeline stage. Something really cool that I've seen people do with the upsell is they have a VIP program. And after 90 days of being their client for one product or service, we automated it. Okay. And it would send them an email and say, hey, thanks so much for being a loyal client to us. We love having you as a client. You've done a great job, like following up with your leads. So let's say they do social media posting, right? But then 90 days later, they're eligible for running paid ads, right? So we automated the whole process and saying, hey, now you're eligible for our VIP program. where we'll actually get your leads for you, and it's time to go to the next level together. So that's something that you can do in an automated way, which I'm going to talk about more today and tomorrow. Okay. But you want to make sure that you're, again, going through the process start to finish. And then any additional pipelines. So people ask me all the time, well, how many pipelines do I need? And I always say it depends on how many products and services you have, because personally, I like to track products and services separately from the main offer. Okay. This is a business decision. It's a preference. It's up to you how you like to track things. But I like to track them on different screens, because then you have different dashboard metrics. You can change the drop down and simply see from a top level view where all your clients are, who's buying what's your most popular thing. So that's why I like to use different pipelines for those. Okay, so this one's blank because this is up to you on the new pipeline.
That's really interesting, Christine, because I've seen people divide up the pipelines. I've seen it where each pipeline is for one rep, right? A sales rep or
Yeah.
an admin, right? They have 3 admins, so they have 3 different pipelines and things like that. But I have to admit, I haven't seen too many people separated from services and products like that. So
Oh, really?
let's say you have 5 offers, you're saying you'll have 5 separate pipelines.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I like personally. You don't have to do it that way, but
Okay. And you're able to track the numbers on the dashboard because they're separated, and you can just like drop down and see all the numbers. That's really cool.
exactly.
Okay, cool. Fair enough.
Yep. So this is how you set it up in high level. Okay. So the first example I showed you for the new leads, this would be an example of like a SaaS pipeline set up in high level. Okay. So we're in the settings, we're going to pipelines, and then we're just setting up our pipeline for whatever product or services that you want. And then if you mess up or you decide to add something later, you can just use these little arrows and like move them up and down, which is kind of cool. Okay. And then for clients, again, this is something that a sample client pipeline that you can set up for clients. And you can turn off, if you don't want to see the funnel or the pie chart, you can turn them off.
Now, the leads that you have, or these cards, lead cards, are they moving across the pipeline automated, or is that a manual process?
Yeah, they're moving automated.
Wow. Okay. So you don't have a person handling those movements either. You've automated that. And basically you're updating the pipeline consistently.
Yes. Yeah. And it depends too on like what you offer, products and services you offer. You can do it on a manual move as well. It's pretty robust. So either one you want to do, you can.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the activity, right? Because a lot of closers and sales guys, we have to manually move it across because you're calling them, following up, adding notes, things like that.
Yeah.
But I can see how for onboarding, it could be a pretty streamlined, automated movement.
Yeah. And something that I did when I had a sales team was I it was stressful at first before we automated it, because I would get these frantic texts. Can you send an invoice to so-and-so for this? And he bought this and this. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? And I'm like at the park with my kid or something, So what I did was I set up a pipeline stage, and all they had to do was drag the card over into send contract, and bam, it was done, right? So if you have a sales team, you definitely want to utilize these automations for sure. Okay. The other thing I see that people aren't doing that this could help you so much is updating the status. So if you have an opportunity card for a lead and you click on it, you can actually update the status right then and there, or you can drag down. But that makes me nervous, because once you have like hundreds of cards, sometimes I accidentally move them to a different pipeline stage. So I like to just click on them and click on status. So you can do open, which you're actively working the lead. One means that they are your client now and they paid. Lost and abandoned, some people kind of use them interchangeably. I use lost as like, hey, you're annoying, leave me alone. Okay. And then abandoned, I kind of use as like a wrong number type of thing. So make sure you're doing this because as a business owner, you're going to be able to see on your dashboard how your team is doing, right? So you can see how many opportunities came in, how many are open, how many are lost, how many were closed, how much value is in your pipeline, right? And this is something that you can offer to your clients as well. If you have a SaaS, you're a SaaSpreneur, this is invaluable to people, right? Like I've talked to guys who are in the home services, they were in the earth moving business, right? And they tracked everything on paper. And I'm like, how much is in your pipeline right now? And he pointed to a stack of papers on his desk this tall and said, I don't know, I got to send all these bids out. Wouldn't it be cool if they had a SaaS program that they could use to maybe track all that stuff, guys? Wink, wink, right? Be awesome. So a lot of people aren't using this. Okay, so we talked about everything that happens up until someone becomes your client. But what happens after they pay? All right, so that is right here, this little yellow box here. Okay, so what happens after they pay? Well, we're going to want to put them into our onboarding workflow. Okay, so in this example, I have an email going out when they pay, email 1, that says, thank you for signing up. Thank you for being our client. We look forward to working with you. Here's instructions, right? So number 1, please fill out this onboarding form. Number 2, you'll get a confirmation with next steps, blah, blah, blah. You know, so whatever you do in your process, you want to write that out. And something that I have found works very effectively with people is I'll say, open your email and go to your sent items. Okay. And what are you sending your client every time someone signs up with you? What are you sending them in the email? And use that. And then we're going to automate it. We're going to drop it in a workflow, and we're going to save you literally hours just by sending one email to everybody that you close, right? You can do a lot more than that, but I've literally sat down with people like at my mastermind, and in 15 minutes, we had automated like a bunch of stuff that they were sending automatically. And I think I saw Lonnie on here, but it was Lonnie. So yeah, super important.
What I find interesting is that out of anybody in this ecosystem, you said don't automate everything. You have to automate the repeating steps that you identify in your business right out of the gate, right? And that's really where a ton of people get intimidated when it comes to automation, because they're like, oh crap, like I don't even know where to start. I have so much things to automate, because everything is in some sense to a marketing person automatable, like I guess if that's even a word, right? So they fall to the trap of not identifying repeated steps, right?
Yeah.
And in each level of your business, you'll have different levels and needs of automations. Like if you look at bigger agencies, they hire a systems integrator person as a role, and they simply just focus on automations. Keep going. I don't want to slow you down.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so here we have when they pay, they send the onboarding form, right? Then we have like the whole check-in process here. So we can do a check-in 2 weeks later and say, hey, it's Christine. I'm just following up and seeing how everything's going. Do you have any questions? I've had people that say, oh my God, I don't want to do that because if I reach out and bug them, that's when they manufacture problems. So I'm not saying you guys have to do this, okay? It depends on your niche, your clients, how they communicate, how many times they want to be followed up with, right? If they're a doctor, they probably don't want you to bug them, okay? If they're a roofer, they're probably on a roof and they just want results, they don't want to have a monthly meeting or whatever, right? So it just depends on how often they want to be communicated with. So you have to keep that in mind when you're setting everything up. And you guys know, right? If you have clients, if you're bugging them too much, or if they want to be bugged or they don't want to be bugged, right? You guys know that. So the other thing that I always encourage that you do is use custom values, because if you have a team or you're anticipating having a team even, you're going to want to put like the account manager or the agency point of contact for like each account into a custom value, because if people leave, quit, move on in life, it happens all the time. That way you don't have to go into every email in your workflow and update their name. Okay. So for me, when I started out and it was just me, I had an imaginary front desk lady named Lisa. Okay. And I did it. I put her in a custom value because I knew someday I would have someone that was more than me, right? I knew I was going to grow. And you can make your agency look bigger than it is. You can make them an email address, right, on G Suite or whatever. You can send them the onboarding stuff from Lisa's email, okay? And literally no one ever asked me to talk to Lisa. No one was like, I demand to talk to Lisa, right? Like literally no one did that.
I mean, if they ask, she's out of the office for next 3 months, you know?
Well, and I have a friend named Lisa, so if they demanded, I could have just put Lisa on the phone, right? But no one ever asked me for Lisa, so it's not a big deal. And then also, if you have like a project manager, you definitely want to put them in a custom value as well, like your sales team. So these are things that you can put in custom values that are going to help you down the road, like when someone leaves your company. Okay. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the onboarding form, but now I'm going to go through it and I'm going to explain why it's so important. Okay. So this is my onboarding form for new clients, and I am getting everything, literally everything that I need to get their campaigns going without having to go back and forth. Okay. So you don't want to keep going back and forth. Hey, what's your hours? Hey, what are your offers? Hey, what's your phone number? Don't do that. Put literally everything that you need in one onboarding form. It's going to make you look like a champ. Okay. And you're going to be able to kick off all of your automations. But I want to reiterate how important it is that you get literally everything you need, because if you don't, and you start automating and you jump the gun because you're so excited to get automating, guys. I know I'm gonna make a nerd out of every one of you by the end of this, right? You guys are so excited to go and you start automating, and then you're like, oh, I forgot to ask what their hours of operation were. When you go back and add it to the onboarding form, you have to redo all your automations. Okay. I learned this the hard way. So just take your time on this and go slow. And if you want to take a screenshot, you can do that. This is literally in high level. This is a high level survey. Okay.
So I have a dumb question. Are you ready? Are you ready?
No, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Well, for me, automations is like another universe, you know? So why not use surveys instead of forms? Don't they like hold more questions or something?
This is a survey.
Oh, okay. So it's not a form, but it's a survey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So that was a good question then.
Yes, it was. I love surveys. I love surveys. So this is actually a survey. And okay, so the other thing that I also wanted to add to this too, if you find your guys getting on an onboarding call for every client, stop, collaborate, and listen. Okay, make a little training area in the membership area in high level, a free training area, and give them access to it after they pay. And you can show them how to fill out the onboarding form. You can show them how to complete the onboarding. You can walk them through the whole process. You can set expectations, and you can effectively clone yourself. Okay. So when they pay, they're excited to get started right away. So let them get started right away.
Now
okay?
that's too smart, Christine. That's just way too smart. What you're saying is record videos of yourself that explains the onboarding process, explains the surveys and what expectations of the next 3 days or whatever, and you're gonna throw that into a membership format like it's the course, and they get access to that course.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. That's really, really neat. because now you're not just throwing a bunch of stuff at them, you're actually putting a face to the process.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, like I said, high level has memberships. So put them in that, make it free, obviously, but you can put it in your workflow to grant them access to the membership area automatically. So I'm going to show you how to do that tomorrow. Okay. So
that's so exciting. I never get excited for stuff like this, but that's
really
exciting because I'm like, dude, you can record yourself and explain this whole process in the membership area. That
exactly.
is so cool. So what else?
Yes,
After the form.
Okay. So after the form, then what happens? So we're going to talk about this more tomorrow. So onboarding form, right? We can set all this stuff up, team communication, project management. I talked about this a little bit already. So that's what we can do with it. So you're going to want to make sure that you set up your Zapier automation checklist. Okay. So you want to confirm what you need for all of your, you don't have to use Zapier. Okay. So don't like quote me on, I have to use Zapier. You can use Integromat, you can use whatever you want. Right. But I personally use Zapier. You're going to want to write down like what contract app you want to use, your project management tools. Do you want to send them a card, right? Do you want to send them Slack, access to Slack, or do you not even want them to touch Slack, right? Or do you want to notify your team in Slack? And do you want to create like Google Drive files or whatever? So you guys need to have this in place for tomorrow, as well as your blueprint, so that we can get started on your automations together. Okay. All right. So we talked about onboarding. We talked about leads. Now we're going to talk about client retention. Okay. So I know a lot of people don't have a client retention system in place, but this is going to be important for money-making activities, which we're going to talk about on day 4. So this is this section of the diagram here, the client retention. So and a little example of something that you could do, you can check in with them like every 2 weeks. You can do a monthly review with them. You can send them a voicemail drop if you want, okay? You can do like an ascension or an upsell offer after 3 months. But this is a good opportunity for you to ask your clients how they are doing, okay? Ask them what problems they're having right now. Why would you do that? So you can solve their problems for money, right? Ask them what problems they're having so you can solve their problem for money. You can come up with your next product or service based on what your current problems your current clients are having, right? Did they hit their goals? You can get their testimonials on Autopilot. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. If you ask them how it's going and they say, oh my God, it's amazing. I closed $50,000 in deals this week. Screenshot, social proof, hello, right? Perfect social proof for you. Make sure you ask, obviously, but it's a great way to show other people how successful that your clients are, okay? Okay, so this is how it all works together. We made it through the blueprint, guys. We made it. We made it through.
Wow. So we have lead sources coming in. We have our first big workflow, which is the appointment reminder workflow, right?
Yeah, we have the opt-in workflow.
Yeah.
And then when they book the appointment, we have the appointment reminder workflow, right? Yes.
Got it. Yeah. And then from there, it's either they showed or they didn't show up.
They show or they didn't. Yep.
Yeah. And then once they don't show, there's a workflow that puts them back into the appointment, right?
It's a long-term nurture.
Okay.
Yep.
And that emails and texts as well. Okay.
Yep.
And then the next big item is the pipeline stages, right?
Yep.
So the pipeline stages, by the way, whoever said that, these things are called starbursts.
Nice. Thank you.
So now I learned something new today. So yeah, so the stages are built out, right? And after that, you have your onboarding workflows.
Yes.
Is that right? So
Yep,
that
onboarding.
starts with financial piece, then I assume documentation of some kind of what they're needing. and then the marketing plan or whatever offer you have, that plan, right? Which is the campaign start and new client. And then once they essentially start working with you, you have check-ins that are happening every 7 days, I guess 15, 30, 45, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you roll all this into a client retention workflow, so that way your fulfillment and account management has some sort of automation behind it. Is that what I'm understanding so far overall?
You're doing great, Paulson.
Okay, all right. Now tomorrow when we try to build this all out, I'm gonna like puke on myself, I promise, because it's gonna be intimidating. I'm gonna miss plenty of steps and tags and everything. So this is good to understand the bigger flow of the interaction, right?
Yeah. So would it help you guys if I give you like my actual template for this? Like, does anyone want that?
Give us some comments, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
People are
Yes.
unmuting themselves.
Yes.
Give me
Yes.
That's your whole snapshot.
Yes,
Heck
yes,
yes.
please, all the things.
All of-
Anything
all
you want to give
snapshots.
us.
All of the snapshot.
Yes.
I should have recorded it. Oh, I did record it. Now I have a great audio clip.
That was funny.
Give me some likes and hearts on the post though. Okay. Likes and hearts on the post. Okay. I'm going to put it in the chat. And then you guys can just literally click it.
Oh my gosh.
Copy it for
Oh
you.
my gosh.
You're so sweet, Christine.
right.
So I'm actually looking at it and this is legit. Like it's so mapped out. Like can you guys
Am I the only
imagine?
one that feels like they want to puke looking at this?
No. I'm there too because I have to build it out, right? But what I like about it is it gives me like an amazing starting point. And now I know as like your businesses grow, you guys can all layer on top of this. This is just starting point of automation, like 4 or 5 big pillars of automations, right?
Mhm.
But tomorrow we're going to dive in even further and just kind of, what are we doing tomorrow, Christine? How
Oh.
much of in depth are we going to go?
Okay. So obviously, so tomorrow I want you guys to have your blueprint finished. Okay. And don't puke because I know you guys can do it. I've seen people do it like literally in an hour or two. When they come to my mastermind, they just like buckle down and get it done. Okay. So get it done, do the blueprint because tomorrow's the fun day. Okay. But first I want to know, do you guys see how powerful this is now? Hopefully you see how powerful it is because you can use it as a framework to automate everything. Okay, so let me know in the video, let me know in the comments, likes, hearts, yeses, okay? You can do this fast. So I know the blueprint's scary. I know it looks like it's gonna take a lot of time, but once you get it done, you're gonna be able to like rip and run, okay? So I want you to do 2 things again, like yesterday, but I want you to put in the video that you're going to commit to creating Christine's whimsical blueprint so that you can finally, and then put your goal. Okay.
Yes,
So I
guys
want
and
you,
gals, make sure you post the comments in the streaming of day 2 itself.
the video.
Yes, on the streaming. I want to see all the commitments. All you SaaSpreneurs, this is time for you to step up and get your
I
stuff
have
ready.
lost where the live stream is. Where does that live?
It's in the Facebook group. Yeah, it's in the high level Facebook group. So if you're a high level account holder or a user, you'll be able to get access to it. Just request access and you'll be able to get in. And
And
if you look at the announcements, it's the top. The streaming is pinned to the top.
yeah, it's in the Zoom chat, guys. You
Yeah,
can just click
the
on that.
direct link is there as well. But yes, that's exciting. So you know what's crazy is the hard part is strategizing and mapping out your entire automation versus actually building the automations.
Really,
Is that a fair judgment?
I would say, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because most people try to build it without a big plan or a strategy behind it. They're just running gunning for no reason and then coming back and fixing strategies and ideas and concepts and steps and changing while building.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So don't do that. Okay. That's why the blueprint's so important. It's just like having a blueprint for your house, right? If you guys have ever built a house or you've ever built anything, what's the first thing you do? You want to know how to build it, right? You're going to get a blueprint. People don't just build houses and throw them up. That doesn't happen. That's too expensive. You're going to lose too much money. You're going to make too many mistakes. So put your blueprint in place first, okay? So tomorrow, you asked me about tomorrow, Paulson. You're always one step ahead of me, Paulson. So tomorrow's the fun part, because we're going to take your blueprint that you're creating today and we're going to set up all your automations. All right. So that I love this. This is like, this is what I live for.
I've actually seen this happen live twice at your events. So it was just like, one was like very much workshop driven, and we're all just like literally laptop and everybody's building together, and it was really cool. Like we're in a coffee house, right? Or a university library. Everybody is studying together. It was really cool. And the other one was, it was more on the strategy side. Like we're really looking at the frameworks and the blueprints and everything. But give me a hashtag SaaSpreneur in addition to everything we talked about in the streaming, if you guys are excited for tomorrow to actually build this thing out inside your high level accounts.
Yeah.
Live. Give me a hashtag SaaSpreneur, guys. And that's going to get me more excited for tomorrow.
SaaSpreneur.
Okay.
Tomorrow, same place, same time.